we want to talk about a couple of tools that will be needed for cryo-ultramicrotomy. One is a series of loops that are used to pick up the sections from the knife in the cryo-ultramicrotome, and the second is a larger loop that's used to transfer the grid between solutions after the sections have been applied. Now these items are available commercially and pre-made, which is what we have here. There's a small loop, which is the one that's used to pick up the sections. This loop is about 3 millimeters in diameter. It's about the same diameter as an electron microscope grid. The larger one is a little larger than a grid, about 3.5 to 4 millimeters in diameter, and that's to transfer the grids in a small volume of solution. So these are the ready-made versions that are available from most electron microscopy supply houses. Likewise, hairs and eyelashes are commercially available as well. This is one type of eyelash available on a fairly short handle. But we usually find that we need longer handled versions of these tools to work in the cryo-ultramicrotome. So you might want to consider making your own, although they are commercially available. The items that we'll need to make these eyelashes and loops are a fairly long, usually a wooden handle about 6 to 8 inches long of some kind, a small 1 millimeter drill bit, brass or aluminum tubing or rod of the appropriate diameter to make the loops, and these are available at most hardware stores and home supply centers. We can also use a glass Pasteur pipette to make loops, and this is especially good for making loops of various diameters. Also a good thing to have are 1 or 2 inoculating loop handles. These are the ones that have a locking hub on them, and they're available from most scientific supply stores. This is 30 gauge platinum wire available from most electron microscopy supply houses. It's one of the preferred materials to make the loops. You can also use about 30 gauge stainless steel wire. That's available from a good electronic supply house or hardware store. We have a little nail polish, which is one method we can use to attach the loops and the eyelashes to their handles. We'll need a pair of scissors to cut the wire. We can use scissors or wire cutters. A pair of watchmaker's forceps to manipulate the eyelashes especially. We'll use plastic drinking straws as the handles for the hairs and eyelashes. And the two most popular types of tools are made out of either Dalmatian hair or human eyelashes. If you'd like to try Dalmatian hairs, they're actually quite good. They taper to an extremely fine, delicate point, and they're very good for manipulating individual sections around the knife. The other method we can use to attach the eyelashes and the loops is a small amount of quick-set epoxy cement. And I have here a small a petri dish just for the mixing of the epoxy. Our starting point for the loops is our 30 gauge wire, either platinum or stainless steel, and we're going to cut lengths of the wire about 2 inches. We're going to take this length of wire and bend it so that the ends are right next to each other at the same point. We've bent the wire back on itself so that the ends are now at the same distance and laying next to each other. We'll now pick up the loop and insert it into the inoculating loop handle. This is a little delicate step, so we want to take our time in inserting it. And now we tighten the chuck to secure the wire in the handle. This is the finished product we're going after. The ends of the loop are tightly twisted together, and we'll then anchor the loop in a handle of some kind. The first thing that we do is twist the loop around a template. Remember, we can get brass or aluminum tubing or rod from a home supply store. I have a piece of 3mm brass rod that I'm going to use at this point. We just simply insert the loop over the rod, stabilize it a little bit, and turn the inoculating loop handle to twist the wires together. We'll have a finished product when the wire snugs up against the rod and the coils are nice and tight. We now want to cut the loop and leave a tail of about 5 or 6 millimeters of the twisted loops together, because that's going to be the point we anchor it on the handle. Give yourself lots of room, because the loop may jump when we cut it off. For handles for the tools, we recommend either a good solid orange wood stick about 6 to 8 inches long, or a bamboo chopstick. The chopsticks are actually very good handles for the cryo tools because of their length. We're going to use the 1mm drill bit to bore a hole in the end of the chopstick. It will take a little bit of practice and a delicate movement to start the hole. And notice I'm just holding the drill bit in my hand and rotating the chopstick back and forth slowly to drill the hole. The hole should be about 3 or 4 millimeters deep. After we mix the epoxy, we have to work fairly quickly. We place a small amount of the epoxy on the cut ends of the wire loop, and then we insert the wire into the end of the handle and hold there for maybe a minute to 2 minutes until the epoxy sets. For our next steps, we'll make an eyelash on a plastic straw handle. The first thing I'll do is cut the end of the straw at an angle to give one sharp point. And for this purpose, we're going to use a little nail polish to secure the eyelash. I apply just a small amount of nail polish to the end of the straw. And we'll use a Dalmatian hair, and I'll place the hair in the nail polish. It goes without saying that you'll probably want to do this under the stereo microscope so you can properly position the hair and also find the proper end. We want the tip of the hair projecting outward, not the root end of the hair.